Welcome back to Media 7, where I'm talking about the Maori voice in the media with Dr. Ranganui Walker, Ken Mayer and Willie Jackson. Before we continue, we'll pause and look at the report from Simon Pound. You might not be familiar with the name Flux Animation, but you might be surprised that we've seen the company's work.
Media, it's not just for adults.
That's what I tried to say when you landed on me, but Shorty's bum was stuck in me mouth.
This is Stains Down Drains, one of the hits from local producers Flux Animation. You might know their work. Tamatoa, the Brave Warrior. The Adventures of Massey Ferguson.
Tip your hat and say hello.
They do great Kiwi shows and even have a new series about the iconic Buzzy Bee. More on that later. Telling Kiwi stories is important to Flux boss Brent Chambers.
I think every child when they're growing up, Saturday morning cartoons is very important to them at some point, and it's imperative that we can, reinforce our own culture by telling our own stories.
Brent started the company in his basement, and now at their Auckland studio they have 20 to 30 staff working on a mixture of TV and advertising work. And the stuff they do isn't just for kids. Flux had a starring role in one of the most talked about films of the decade, An Inconvenient Truth. They provided the polar bear looking for ice. Sad. And the frog slowly boiling.
I regard it as the best commercial we ever worked on, really. It's just a wonderful marketing exercise, very well made film. And I did get flown across for the filming and got to meet Al Gore afterwards.
From this Hollywood relationship, they have also just produced a short film. It was a dark and silly night. It brings to life the work of great writer Neil Gaiman and artist Gahan Wilson. This was a traditional job done with actual drawing. These 20-odd drawings make up less than a second of screen time. It took about 6 months to make this 5-minute short. Lots of drawing. However, most work these days is done with computers, in 3D, like on the new Buzzy Bee and Friends show.
Lion Rock Productions had the rights to the Buzzy Bee, iconic New Zealand toy, and we got to work with them developing that series. A wholly created, 100% New Zealand produced show. We've probably come out with what's our best series ever.
It starts on April 27th on pt2.
Simon Pound with that report. Rangi, I don't know if you noticed in there, but there were Saturday morning cartoons for the kids telling Maori stories. You must be pleased to see that, because it was unimaginable at one time, even in the 70s, I would think.
Yeah, absolutely. Recently, we did a degree accreditation down at the Wānanga, and I was impressed with the young people who are media savvy. Some of them work for the Weta workshop, and they were going to formulate a degree whereby they were to do the digital animation of Maori mythology. So I'm looking forward to the product.
Well, that's the extraordinary thing, is that it's a treasure trove that's barely been tapped of stories.
Absolutely. Maui is an iconic figure, and he has lots of lessons to teach all of us.
Now, we'll change the tone a little bit, and politics, you're good with that, Ken. I had to have some sympathy for Michael Cullen this week when he said, well, we'll cooperate with the review of the foreshore and seabed legislation. But he did point out that he couldn't have done that at the time because the environment around this was so hostile. The first New Zealand Herald editorial on the topic, you would have thought the sky was falling. Have we just come to terms with this a little more now?
Well, perhaps. It's a pity that Michael didn't come to terms with it at the time that it occurred. That would have been wonderful.
As I said, I had some sympathy for him at the time because you had the National Party doing the iwi versus Kiwi thing, and you had a real media panic going. Do you think that's what happened? Was there a media panic? Well,
I think there's certainly internally the dynamics within the government. They must have been in a panic, because I'll tell you what, at that particular time, 200 metres away, when that was being announced, we were in negotiations with the Crown, with the government, around our river claim. and it just come out of the blue. And then we knew where the headspace of the government was in regard to treaty claims in this country. And they weren't serious in regard to trying to resolve that particular issue. And you had on the steps of Parliament, the government of the day, the Labor government, announcing taking away the fundamental right of us going into the court and challenging the issues around customary rights to the seabed and foreshore.
Which sounds so reasonable when you say it, but I think it is also fair to say that there were people on the Maori side saying some pretty crazy things as well, weren't there? It was a very heated atmosphere.
Oh, yeah, it was certainly heated, but I think that there was more heat within the government at that particular time, and I think that people like Tariana Turia and others were articulating in a clear manner what was going on here. The government was taking away a fundamental right in regard to our ability to go to the court and challenge the issues and present our position in regard to the customary rights of the seabed and foreshore.
Willie, why do you think there was such a panic about it at the time? Because I can recall actually interviewing John Tamahiri at the time, and it was clear to me he felt under enormous pressure.
Well, he's changed, of course, since then, and he's apologised for his shameful behaviour. Why was there such a panic? Because your mates all played up in the media, and they ran all these lines in terms of the Maoris are going to take the beaches off you.
Which was pretty much the tone of that first editorial. It was.
But it was nonsense. We all know it was nonsense. And you had irresponsible journalists running Helen and them better act, otherwise Ken and his mates will take over down there in Wanganui, and it was just rubbish, and it's a good example of how mainstream media how they performed so irresponsibly. And they should be taken to task for that. I hope somebody comes back on it, because yes, you got one or two nuts. You always get one or two nuts. Probably Ken's cousins, you know, but you know, Ken, as you can hear, he's a very reasoned man now, you know. He's, you know, and that, and I've got to say,
he's the statesman.
No. But there was most Maori were talking like Ken actually, and as we know, you'll get one or two nuts everywhere. The media will grab those nuts, exaggerate the position, and all of a sudden we've got Helen Clark and Cullen legislating our human rights away. It was disgraceful what happened, and you and your mates should own up to it.
Do you think it's easier?
You're part of that.
Shall I apologise?
Yes, you should ask me more questions,
right.
Actually, and I'll continue.
Yes. well,
the real issue to test whether there was a customary right to the foreshore and seabed was obfuscated by the Barbies and Beaches red herring. So, and the media played that up.
Because when you looked at the Ngāti Apa decision when it came down, it was clear in law, wasn't it?
Well, it wasn't about us owning them. We just wanted our right to go to court. That's what we were talking about.
Do you think it's easier now, not so much because National is in government, but because they're not in opposition? So you don't have Murray McCulley putting out press releases about political correctness gone mad.
Right. No, you've got Clayton Cosgrove doing that, yes.
Certain irony there, isn't there?
So which shows Maori, that's when Maori start saying, well, maybe there's not a lot of difference here. When we have Cosgrove coming out with this rubbish over Maori prisons and talking about apartheid and all that sort of thing. It's easier now for us because we've got the Maori Party in there. I think, I presume you guys would agree that their leaders have acquitted themselves very well in the media. They've proved to be good communicators.
How much has that helped, do you think? The fact that they, Peter can stand up and talk to
he's got
people
crossover.
like him and trust him.
Pete's got crossover, right? Until he says the wrong thing, right? He says the wrong thing, then they go, actually, he should be banned. He's just like Tariana. But Pākehā people like Pete. Tariana, of course, is the absolute boss of that party, as we all know. Pete's the Minister of Māori Affairs, but she maintains a staunch principle.
I still think Peter Sharples perhaps gets away with things that other MPs wouldn't. When he made that statement in an interview after they'd been stiffed on the Auckland Super City Maori seats, he made that rather tenuous claim that it just makes the relationship stronger. And I kind of thought, well, if you'd been any other MP rather than Uncle Peter, you might have been savaged on that.
It was a bit strange, but he's just playing the game. He's in the House. I thought he went a bit overboard. He said the relationship's stronger and better. I thought if he's going to start talking like that, Keys might as well go for the Maori seats full stop in terms of central government. But, you know, Peter's so happy after getting his throat cut over the super city. But I think Pete's just playing games, you know. We had a big hui up at Orake, and Māori are going to march and show their protest. And the beauty, I suppose, of this relationship is that at least the Māori Party can act independently within the centre.
Do you think the Maori Party are covered well in the media? It seems to me sometimes that it's only the likes of Julian Wilcox and Shane Taurima who are prepared to actually challenge them. Do you think that's the case? Because they seem to be able to ask the hard questions of the Maori Party leaders. Perhaps
you're saying I don't. Is that what you're saying?
Well, you do. You too. Yes.
I think that they're doing a good job. I think they're put on the spot sometimes. Willie Te Aho, who appeared on my show last week, said that Pete Sharples is not doing a good job as the Minister of Māori Affairs. He said his performance was as bad as his performance at the National Kapahaka Festival. So I think our people will criticise, you know?
Yeah, and
that's what Willie Te Aho said.
and it's okay to report conflict on Maori stories. I remember one thing that Cliff Curtis said, Maori love conflict. So it shouldn't be shied away from them.
Well, you guys made a meal over conflict. That was the problem.
So is there too much reporting of conflict?
No, you guys made a meal over that for many, many years. Things are starting to change slowly. But the problem we had was, newsrooms and editors all went out, let's just find the ugly side. Find Ken Mair, he'll say something crazy. That was in the old days, Ken. But, or get Rangi Walker, he'll say something horrible about Whākau. Get Sid Jackson. You guys made a meal off that. And you weren't looking at the other side of things. Things are starting to change slowly, but I note this is the first Māori story on this show for
No,
first
it's
year.
not. We did the Maori Language Week show.
Did you? Oh,
yeah.
okay. Well, you have to. It's Māori Language Week, so
Yeah,
it sort
and
of makes
I did very well with my te reo off the audio cue too, Willie. Thank you very much.
Tokenism.
You know, picking up on what Willie was saying, I mean, he's quite correct. In the past, even present, you can still see it, is that the media tended to look at issues, events and actions and personalities instead of going beyond that, because those matters seem to suppress and drown out the very positive ideas, thoughts that were coming through from people like myself and that, not necessarily Willie, but certainly some of us.
I was asked a very good question this morning. What did I think of the position of a member of the National Party, Georgina Te Herehere, being an Associate Minister to the Minister, Peter Sharples? I said, Minister and Associate Minister are a Pākehā dichotomy. As far as Māori are concerned, Peter and Georgina are in the same waka, pointing it in the same direction, is the liberation of Māori and the achievement of Māori goals.
I think that's a very good example of thinking differently to finish on. Rangi, Ken and Willie, thank you very much for your time. And we will have to leave the discussion there. Coming after the break, how well does television serve viewers over 50? And who's to blame if it doesn't?